assistance for any needed inspections. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Marco Meach, Deputy Secretary, Health and Human Services.
Thank you. Good morning. We have fully activated across our agency, and that includes the Emergency Medical Services Authority, the California Department of Public Health, and the California Department of Social Services. Secretary Galley is in communication with the local hospital, and we are not tracking any unmet needs at the time. We're also looking and are in contact with all the medical, health, and community care facilities in the region and are not tracking any unmet need. As Director Ghilarducci noted, we do have a shelter that is active in that area, and we're not tracking any unmet need at that shelter either. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Bob Fenton. I'm the FEMA Region 9 Regional Administrator. We've been coordinating closely with the State of California Office of Emergency Services since July 4th and the first earthquake. Following the event last night, we went ahead and deployed all the key federal agencies and departments up here to work with OES and state agencies to make sure that if there's any resource that the state needs to aid those impacted, that it's available and ready. We've gone ahead and pre-positioned some resources and will continue to coordinate with the state. As Mark had talked about, the next step is actually doing preliminary damage assessments to see if what other federal authorities may be brought to bear to help those in the recovery of this event. That concludes my briefing. Thank you.
So we just came out of an hour-long briefing with the governor, and to reiterate the priorities that he set for us, and what we'll continue to work here in the State Operations Center over the next operational period is to obviously continue to support the efforts to protect lives and property and the environment throughout this throughout the response phase as we transition from response into recovery. Continue to coordinate all the emergency operations that we're doing here and in our regional centers and at the local EOCs. Work to make sure that all of the critical infrastructure lifeline restoration gets done in this next operational period, working with our private sector utility partners, telecoms, and supply chain management groups. We'll continue to provide accurate public information as to what's happening with regards to the response and recovery. And then we'll focus on meeting whatever unmet needs are throughout the region for health and medical and people with access and functional needs. Let me just say also that as we transition to recovery today, it's sort of two things happening. We're still responding, but we're moving into place these assets that really can focus on determining the total amount of damage, and so that we can really start to work progressively to get individuals and the community back up in the normal way of life. So that is going to be a big focus, and we will probably, as the operational period goes on into tonight to tomorrow, you'll see some transitioning of response resources being demobilized and different resources being activated to be able to cover the various kinds of needs that will take place. And so the State Operations Center here with all the state and federal and private sector resources will remain fully activated until further notice. With that, happy to answer any questions.
Do you have any details on the number of injuries and severity of those?
I don't have the final number of injuries. We do know that there were a number of injuries, and but most of them I would characterize in the minor to moderate level, and no report of any fatalities. So I think we're very lucky there, and happy there wasn't anything worse.
Can you talk about the conversations you've been having with the private utilities, especially as it pertains to gas lines, and then you have this added concern with wildfire potential?
Well, we've been working very closely with the utilities over the course of the last few months in the effort of preparing communities as a result of public safety power shutoffs, and so that's helped to build that coalition in the effort of making sure that communities are as prepared as possible. We generally have, though, here embedded in the State Operations Center, the California Utility Emergency Association is an association that represents all of the power, water, wastewater, utility providers of telecommunications. They're embedded here, and they have been working very, very diligently, ensuring that that the priority to get power to things like the hospital is done first, and then, you know, as they move forward and branch out, that the rest of the community gets back up and operational. Right now, there's a big effort on doing gas leak detection, so they've got a lot of sniffer vehicles out there and other kinds of equipment to ensure that that the gas mains or the gas lines get fixed. That's going to always be an issue after an earthquake, and that could take a few days to be able to address that. Yeah. So, well, the first thing is that if you're in a structure and you start to feel an aftershock or another earthquake, you want to drop, cover, and hold on. The idea is to get under something that is strong and heavy that will protect you in the event of anything that may be falling. You want to cover the back of your head and crouch down under that heavy piece of furniture. Standing in doorways is not a good idea. Standing next to a refrigerator is not a good idea. Refrigerators will move significantly and doors swing. Best to get down underneath something that's solid and in place to be able to protect yourself. If you're driving, pull to the side of the road, put your car in park and stop in a safe location until the shaking stops. Really not want to go running outside if you're in a high rise. Use the stairwells after the shaking stops to go down the stairwells. Do not use the elevator. Be cognizant of things like glass that may be on the ground or falling glass above you if you do go outdoors. Important to have you know, an emergency kit and some supplies. If you have not gotten those yet, go to one of the stores that's open and get some water and supplies in the event that there is an aftershock. The potential is, talking with California Geologic Survey and the United States Geologic Survey, the seismologist, there will be a significant number of aftershocks, but there is a 5% chance that you could get another earthquake as large as this earthquake last night. So we want to make sure that people over the next 24 to 48 hours are prepared and cognizant of what to do should more earthquakes occur. Any other questions? Okay, great. We'll do a follow-up press conference as announced, possibly later tonight or first thing tomorrow morning. Thank you very much.
Major General Baldwin, and it's David.
Communications. We experienced this. They immediately went into a different mode and tactically dispatched the officers and fire by different means. That has been rectified, and we were back up and running, and it went off without a hitch. We've had a couple incidents of theft. We have sufficient resources, though, to actively investigate those and continue a proactive enforcement and patrols throughout the city. We're continuing now to inspect structures throughout the city with the help of inspectors from OES, the county, and our own city personnel, and that will continue until the job is done. If anybody throughout the city wishes to have their property inspected, feel free to reach out to us and we will make that happen. With that, I'll turn it back over to Andrew. We'll get the questions afterwards.
Once again, we want to remind everyone we will hold all questions until after the individual speakers have had a chance to speak. Let's now turn our attention to Battalion Chief of the Kern County Fire Department, Denisio Mitchell.
Good morning, ladies and gents. Denisio Mitchell, Kern County Fire Department, Battalion 7A. Currently in Unified Command as Crest IC with Ridgecrest Police Department Chief. So following the 7.1 earthquake last night, we had immediate response of at least 5 engines from Battalion 7, followed by a reinforced strike team of 5 additional engines to assist with the abundance of calls we had, ranging from hazardous conditions all the way to working structure fires. Last night, we had that total at 3 working structure fires, and then first thing this morning, roughly around the time we were starting to do shift change with our personnel coming on for day shift, we had another report of an active working structure fire. That one ended up being a complete loss. On top of that, our mission last night obviously was to seek out high-risk targets, neutralize them, and then send engines accordingly to the hazardous conditions. We had specialty units deployed as well. One of our own captains has assumed the task force leader role, and he's in charge of various units to the components of USAR's task force, regional task force, and they're going through gridding the city, assessing it for structural damage, any kind of utilities threats or any kind of hazards that we may be looking at. Last night they did a wonderful job. They were able to get through 90% of the city last night with those specialty units, which was really impressive considering the time frame and then the assistance that we had from mutual aid, especially from our brothers and sisters from out of county. So they were very good at getting the 90% done last night. They finished up the last part of that this morning, and then the priority for them is now that we have a primary of the city done, we're going back through a secondary, more detailed look at what we got. So far, we don't have any major structural reports of any kind of damage. We have a couple mobile homes that have been displaced, knocked off their foundation a little bit, but nothing serious. We haven't had any serious injuries of any type, and no firefighters or first responders sustained any injuries. So for today, priorities are to grid the city, assess it for risks, and then we currently have 2 strike teams of engines running 2 different branches, running our normal calls that we have throughout the county every day. So our guys, our brothers and sisters from the county have stepped up. They're running our battalion out here in the desert, and we are taking in our normal amount of calls for hazardous conditions. We are having gas leaks, gas smells of natural gas, and then electrical deals as well. So that's how we're addressing those issues at the current moment. That's our status as far as the fire side is concerned. Thank you.
Next speaker will be the Public Information Office Chief from Caltrans District 9, Christine Nadler.
Good morning, everybody. First of all, Caltrans would like to extend our heartfelt concern for all the families affected by these earthquakes, including our own, who have many homes in the area as well. At this time, all roads are open throughout the area. 2 sections of State Route 178 were most affected, a 500-foot stretch 6 miles east of the San Bernardino-Kern County border, and a 150-foot section that would be 8.5 miles east of the Kern County border. Rockfall has been cleared from State Routes 190, 178 west, 178 east, and State Route 127 as well. Caltrans Inyokern and Independence maintenance crews worked through the night to patch State Route 178 East at the location damaged by the 7.1 magnitude quake. Road conditions on this route are uneven and rough, and we encourage drivers to please proceed slowly throughout the area, on all roads through the area, as we're still continuing to experience these seismic conditions. A $3 million emergency contract has been approved for a permanent fix to these two sections of State Route 178, and Caltrans is currently mobilizing contractors for the excavation and repair of this highway. Our Caltrans traffic management team will be arriving and slowing traffic on State Route 178. All drivers, please proceed slowly whenever you see cone zones in the area. We can't stress this enough. There's a lot of uneven pavement, and it's a danger to drivers and also to the crew members working on the sides of the road. We also encourage all travelers to please carry emergency kits in your vehicles when you're traveling. It's just imperative that you are prepared no matter where you are. This 4th of July weekend, I'm sure we didn't expect this. And so make sure that you equip not only your homes, but your vehicles as well. Thank you.
Our next speaker is American Red Cross Public Information Officer, Mimi Teller.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you to the community for allowing us to come in and support you. So on Thursday, following the initial 6.4 earthquake, we opened a shelter here at the Kara McGee Center right next to City Hall, and we will remain open as long as needed. As of this morning, we had 163 people staying with us, and we have room for capacity up to 500. We have air conditioning, we have sleeping cots, 3 warm meals a day, and hot showers, and we welcome anyone from the community who wants to find both a sense of community and some safety here. So we welcome all. And I also would like to resonate that please make sure you are prepared. As you know, these happen at any time when we least expect it. Have water and enough food and have a family plan so that you're prepared for the next time. Thank you.
Our next speaker is City of Ridgecrest Mayor Breeden.
Good morning, all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming to our city. We invite you to come back at another time when it is not one of these stressful things. We want you to come back and see what a beautiful community we have, what a fine city we have, and what wonderful people we have. We did last night have some bad people come into this community and try to take things away from some of our business owners. I ask all the residents, if you see something, report it, say something. If something doesn't look right, question it. Talk to your friends and your neighbors, and please, please, please keep abreast of what's going on. Watch our website, keep in track of the police department and the city, and you will come through this okay, because we are a community. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Kern County 1st District Supervisor Mick Gleason.
Thanks. Welcome all. Glad to have you here. We don't know what's in store for us the next couple of days, but I do know that we have a great team assembled, and I'm very thankful that the conditions that the chief talked about in terms of the minimum damage, understanding what we've been through, it's remarkable, and I attribute it also to the great team that the mayor has assembled and the chief has assembled, and everything's worked out, coming together really well. So I'm very thankful for that. The dam in Lake Isabella Dam is passing all inspections, so we're happy with that. We're in contact daily with the White House. We've been in contact with the governor's office. He's been very concerned about what's going on down here. We've talked with the offices of Senator Harris, Senator Feinstein. We toured the base with Congressman McCarthy, Senator Grove, and Assemblyman Fong. So all the channels are open. They're all working. The county is stood up as EOC. It's operational. I'm in daily contact with them. They're watching very closely what's happening up here. The Board of Supervisors is getting together on an unscheduled meeting to declare this and support the city of Ridgecrest and the community in declaring a state of emergency. So that'll be helpful. Back me up, Mayor. Looking forward to doing that. Everything's in place. Everything's we got the team ready. So we're prepared for the next couple of days, and we're looking forward to it. Thank you for being here.
Okay, so that is the last of the official speakers. So if there's anyone that has some questions, I will go ahead and take some questions for the various speakers now.
Can you elaborate on the thefts that happened overnight?
So the question is if there's any more detail to any of the thefts that occurred overnight. Would the police chief like to comment on that?
Yeah, regarding the thefts that occurred last night, we had one of our businesses that was broken into, and they stole a very expensive piece of equipment. And we also had a residence that was broken into, and we're still waiting to see and get a list of what was taken from that residence. Thank you.
Chief, what's your name? How do you spell it, please?
Oh, sorry. First name is Jed, J-E-D. Last name M-C-L-A-U-G-H-L-I-N.
And what was the business where the equipment was stolen?
It was Sage Mart, located at Downs and Drummond.
What do they sell?
It's a convenience store.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any additional questions? Yellow shirt. So the question is about local infrastructure as to whether or not that was compromised or not. Potentially, have you gotten word through any of the USAR?
Nothing here locally, no. And then as far as like the report that Dan is flying, so negative.
Negative. Next question.
What do you tell some of your residents who are living here or staying in RVs on the street? They're afraid to go in their house. They don't know what's going to happen. How would you deal with that long term, 3 or 4 or 5 days out?
Would you like to comment on that from Red Cross Shelter standpoint? Okay.
So the question was, what advice do we have for people who are afraid to go back into their homes and staying in their RVs? You know, we can't tell them what to do, and we understand that a lot of people are very afraid to go indoors. We do have a very safe shelter here. It has been inspected immediately following the 7.1 earthquake yesterday, so it is a sound building, and it's safe and comfortable, and we encourage anyone who might be afraid to go home to join us here. And if they do have pets, we are permitting small family domestic pets as long as they come in a crate, and bring your own food. Thank you.
Could you say and spell your name, please? And if people want to help, people in the public want to help, how can they do that?
So we're going to get name and spelling afterwards, if you don't mind, but we do have an additional question about what individuals can do to support. We have received word to answer that question that for right now, monetary donations are preferred. Rather than flooding this and causing a secondary incident from oversupplying this community with something that they're not ready to distribute, monetary donations at this time only. Next question, sir in the red shirt.
Inspection of building safety throughout the city. Have we had any additional buildings, either residential or commercial, in yellow tag, red tag, what are those figures? And do you intend, or is there a possibility of bringing in additional inspectors to try to expedite it if people think their home might be compromised, they don't know who to call?
Okay, so the question is twofold. What are maybe some of the statistics of the types of damages, minor or major, throughout the community? And are additional building inspectors coming in to facilitate a more expedited inspection of the homes? And I think the chief of the police would like to speak on that.
Yes, we already have brought in other inspectors to help our inspectors with residential and commercial. And if somebody wants their building inspected, whether it's house or commercial building, they can contact the police department, and we will schedule that and try to get those inspectors out. If we do need more, we will go through Cal OES and request more. So, thank you.
No updates, no additional red tags?
We have our code enforcement out there as well. Obviously, the burned buildings, those will be red tagged, and I do not have numbers yet as of right now for those red tag buildings.
Okay, one more question.
Where do people donate if they want to help out? To the Red Cross, or where would they go?
So we have a question about where people can send their donations to. Would the Red Cross like to direct individuals to that?
Yes, thank you. Anyone can go to the Red Cross website, which is redcross.org, and there are links there to donate. And as mentioned, cash donations really are the best right now, so we can disseminate them as the need is required. And the spelling is MIMITELLER, Mimi Teller.
Question here in the middle.
Talk about the legal activity. Was it break-ins or what happened last night? Can you give more details? Did somebody
So we're asking for more details about the
if anyone was arrested?
more details about the break-ins, which we've covered. That's going to be a breakout afterwards because now we're starting to get repetitive. Any questions about something we haven't covered yet? Yes, sir.
About how many Quake-related medical aids did you respond to, and what types of injuries did you treat?
So the question posed now is what types and how many medical emergencies arose from the earthquake, and what was that response? And do we have fire could speak on that?
We don't have exact numbers, but as far as injuries, they were very minor. We're talking like cuts and bruises, nothing major at all. No one even was flown out. There was precaution measures taken place by EMS to evacuate some more critical patients, which was already being done from the hospital anyways, but that was already in play. So that wasn't a result of any severe injuries. Injuries were minor. Call volume was obviously up due to the fact of the earthquake, but I don't have exact numbers for you, but minor injury.
Okay, well, that will conclude the question and answer portion of the press conference. All of the individuals that spoke here are going to be available for a one-on-one breakout now at your convenience. Thank you.
Grab me first. So,
I think it's going to be taken.
I'll go after her.
okay.
That's why you're here, so keep me in mind.
Andrew?
Someone mentioned that
8. You're getting there. 8.